All right, after the shift, episode 3, we've got Andrew Sootie George, who's here. I didn't know your name for about 5 years, and we were mates. It was just Sootie, but yeah, Andrew George. He's head of Lou Projects. He's built a fantastic business that we'll talk a lot today. Sam's here as always. Liam as well from LS Fencing. But Sootie, welcome.
Thanks, mate. Good to see you, old friend. But yeah, good to be in this chat. I'm glad I'm here.
Awesome, mate. Yeah, it's good to have you here. We'll touch on a lot of things today, but yeah, tell me a bit about how Lou Project started. I know a little bit of the story, but I think it'd be good for the audience to know.
Well, yeah, I mean, I was a carpenter since I was probably 19. But what actually brought on my my desire to even start carpentry was funny because I bought a house when I was 19, and I got all my mates to come in and like renovate it. And I was just like, I want to do that, like I was just like, oh fucking hell, like why can't I swing a hammer and do that kind of stuff? Like I know how to swing a hammer, but like I saw him using drop saws and putting up arcs and hanging doors and stuff. And I was like, that's sick. And then that's what made me start getting into carpentry. But then I basically did an apprenticeship with a couple old builders, and then with my mate, and then I got into commercial. And then I did a few years in commercial, but like by the end of the commercial run, I was basically in sort of site management roles, project management roles. And then I left that because it got a bit too stressful. I was working down in Sydney a lot, and it was just a bit too much. So then I moved back to the coast, and then I started working for a resi builder, like a high-end resi builder. And then again, like 3 months in, they were like, "Oh, you now run a show." So then they just basically got me, yeah, like basically site managing another job, and then project management. And then I got like stung from that. I was just like, oh, this is too much. Like I take on so much of the stress of like, you know, because I was so, admittedly, I was pretty good at what I did, but I take it all in. Like it consumes a lot of my life. So I have to like every now and again rein it in. So then I was like, you know what, I'm just going to renovate my house again. So I did that. And then I was like, you know what, I'll just start my loop, like a building company, and I'll just renovate bits and pieces here and there. And then it just turned into like, started with a couple of decks, and then I did this development on my own, and I built 2 houses, and then that escalated into like all these architects wanted to work with me, and then, and now we're building $2-3 million houses. So it's like all in the space of 7 or 8 years. So that's basically how Lou Projects started. Yeah, so that's where I'm at now. It wasn't meant to be the big beast that it is, well, bigger beast than it is now, but
That's
how
that. Yeah, that's awesome, man, and it's good to have seen it over the years. I remember those 2 houses you had at King Cumber. Are they the 2 you're talking about?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, I guess like having known you from then, and yeah, I remember you around the pubs at 18, 19 when we were getting to know each other as well. Had some fire in him, Sooty.
Mm,
But
yes, yes.
I
Gotta work through
also
that, for sure.
but I also have known you over the last few years for the business that you built, but also discipline, man. Like you out of everyone I know, and I think all our friend circle would say this too, you've always been disciplined. And obviously that comes with the stress that you talk about there. And it's much better that you're working for yourself rather than, I guess, someone else and getting the full benefit of it. But yeah, what do you think brought on the discipline for you over the years? Does that come naturally?
I think it does. Like it's I guess it's like parents, right? You sort of watch your parents, and I don't know if you know this, Lou Projects is my dad's name. I named it
Know
after
that,
him.
yeah.
But
Yep.
he was such a gun worker. Like he actually worked so much, I never got to see him that much. But I looked up to him and I respected him. I was like, wow, that like he just gets in and just doesn't stop. And he's just such a humble man about it. So I sort of was around that level of discipline all the time. But then, in your 20s, you start fucking around a bit, you just make a heap of mistakes, and you just sort of like, you're just floating around, fluffing about. But then once you sort of start like achieving goals, whether it's even in health, in business, or whatever it is, then you see what discipline actually achieves. Then like discipline is actually more, addictive to me. So I guess that's how I've sort of like discipline has evolved for me. It wasn't like, I guess I'm super disciplined, but I guess, yeah, I got some sort of discipline from my dad. Far out, I said discipline a lot.
It's you did, mate. It's good to I didn't know that about your dad as well. I knew about the business being named after your dad, but I didn't know about your dad being like that discipline. But it's interesting what you say about it evolving, because I can even thank you actually for at least my fitness discipline evolving. Sootie, it's got to be what, 3 years ago now or something, maybe even a little bit more. Goes, hey, I want to do a half Ironman, and I always wanted to, but it was only because Sootie did it that I did it, and I was I was a bit overweight, 100 and something kilos, not looking too sharp. And there's actually a funny video that Sooty sent through to the group the other day, giving me shit. He's like, "Get on the scale, you fat fuck." It was a fucking classic. And I was sitting there shadow boxing at 100 kilos. But I guess to bring back the discipline, I've kept that going for 3 years. You had it going already, but I've kept that going. You know, Sam and I are doing high rocks events now, but we've been training for ages. I did a marathon after that. It's been a good journey, but it grows. Like, you know, you don't start training every day and you fall off the wagon here and there. But yeah, I remember, that kick-started it for me. So it was good.
Well, I'm glad that did, but yeah, mind you, he destroyed the half Ironman. Well and truly, well ahead of me.
Yeah, I don't think you realised I had a bit of a background when I was younger. I was a good swimmer.
No, it was
and
good. Good to see it.
good fitness. Did a VO2 test the other day, mate, 61.
All right.
Told Sam I'd fucking give him a poster what he wants to be like when he's 36, mate.
Mate, absolutely haven't
Savage.
heard the end of it, honestly.
Oh, mate. Well, it's starting to bring back some memories, eh?
Creeping into you as well.
I wanted to bring up the fucking trauma in this fucking podcast.
He's a humble man, old Kirk, isn't he?
Oh, yeah, he's a
Down to
humble man,
earth,
right?
humble guy.
I know, mate. Thank you.
Yeah,
I'm
he
glad
has
you
his
saying it
snatches of
live.
coke.
Mate, I'm Coke
They're
Zero
fucking
count
big.
for the potties up to 2. So
Yeah, you should put that up when we do through just a Coke Zero sips, mate.
yeah,
Have you
we
always had good
might be
work-life
sponsored.
balance, Sooty, since you started the business? Like, have you always had time for fitness as well, or have you found at times you'd just head over heels and you can't get away from work?
No, I always prioritize fitness. Like at the moment, my training regimen is Mondays I have jiu-jitsu, Tuesdays like CrossFit style gym. Same again, went like jiu-jitsu again Wednesday, Thursday gym, Friday I might take a day off. Saturday jits or surfing because I got a surf comp. No, surf comp. I got a surf trip in July. So I'm trying to like train myself for that. But yeah, I usually get like 5 or 6 days of training in a week. But my missus is the same too, but she does the mornings. So I'll take Enzo, my son, in the mornings and like I'll just take him in like for an hour or two. She does her thing, and then I smash out work. I clock off at like 4 or 5, and then I'll go to the gym and do my thing, and then I come home and just make dinner and all that shit. But I've got to it's you've got to have like routine to have freedom, I reckon. So you need to like have your little routines, so then you know that on Saturdays are for the boys. You know what I mean? Like otherwise you're just like radically doing random work all the time at random times. It's hard to get a flow on. And again, that's a learned thing. It wasn't always like that. It's definitely like that in the last 3 or 4 years. Probably even more. I'm prioritized it even more in the last 12 months, just because like the stress levels of my work is just through the roof. Like sometimes I'm so exhausted from sitting in the office solving problems all day, as you would know, Liam. And just exhausted from these phone calls that just like take it out of you. It's just like this political bullshit that you have to fucking deal with all the time. And you just forget that like your brain actually is firing all these like things in your head, and it's like that actually consumes a lot of your energy. And I think that's why I'm so buggered by the end of the day. But then I'll go to the gym and then I'm fired up and I come home and I'm like bust through the door and I'm like carrying on and playing with Enzo and having a good time. Yeah, I don't know. I've got a good little balance at the moment. What about you, Liam?
I'm probably still getting there, yeah. Last year or two, same thing. Had a bit of routine, bit of balance. But I go through phases, like trying to cut off the work sort of at 5 p.m. rather than, I know exactly what you mean, sort of taking phone calls all night, replying to emails, sort of, I've learned to just sort of turn the phone on silent, turn the email notifications off, and leave it till the next morning. Because no matter how much you do, there's always another job rolling in. You know, you're never really going to clear the list of things to do. So, and I know what you mean too. When I was training jiu-jitsu a bit, I don't know about you, but at the end of the day, you're a bit gassed and you're like, oh, do I really want to go? But the moment you start training, it all comes back, all the energy comes back, and yeah.
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 You know what's funny with, I only just recognized this the other day when I was speaking to Inika, my missus. I was like, was it Inika? Anyways, I used to be like, when I was stressed, I would do this thing with my wrist, and then I would have all these like, and I wouldn't even notice I was doing it. It took me a while to realize that I was doing it. I'll just be like sitting here just going stressed out, thinking, oh, how do I get to this problem? Like, how do I fix this? And then I was having all these aches down my arm, and I was seeing the physio and stuff about it. And then I'm like, I don't have any of that anymore. And I think it's actually from jiu-jitsu, because I think that energy is like, it's in your body and it wants to get out. And I'm like, choking blokes out, it's just the best way to do that.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
it is the best way to just exert that type of energy, I reckon.
So there you go. If you have Tourette's, jiu-jitsu. No problem.
Is that what you got from that?
How long have you been training jiu-jitsu for? What belt? You got leveled up to the blue belt?
Probably only about a year and couple, I don't know, 14, 15 months or something. But yeah, I'm only a white belt. I've got 3 stripes down, so no big deal. But I'm loving it. You know, it's just every day is just full blown humbling. Are you doing it? Are you training at all? Jits?
I used to, no, not at the moment. No, I got to 2 stripes, I think. And then I don't know why I stopped going actually, but yeah, I haven't been in the last 9 months or so. I do miss it though. That was a good steam let out every day, like, and just humbling, like you said. Yeah, I'd get tapped out by guys pretty much half my weight, you know, like all the time.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
People don't realize that with exercise, actually, that it's good, clearer, and fires you up as well. You have those moments, like we're lucky where Sam and I work at the moment, the gym's next door. Same with a sauna and place to chill out and everything like that. Sometimes you're not feeling it. You go do that 45-minute session, you come back, you're fired up for the rest of the day. I think, yeah, we wouldn't get the work done or do the hours we do without it. Because admittedly, we're there long days at the moment, 12-hour days, but, 2 hours of it's sort of training and hanging outside and stuff like that. So it's not a full 12-hour work day. I don't think I'd want to. It'd be too
What time
much.
do you start work for the both of you?
7 for me. So the reason 7 for me, and Sam as well, actually, for that. He's a bit more of an early bird than me. I wouldn't go in at 7 if it wasn't for sales calls. 7 a.m. Barley's, 10 a.m. Sydney. That's when we're starting to book in calls with potential clients. So I'm talking to, I'd have 3 or 4 calls with potential clients every day. And a lot of that is analysing their business and having a chat. But 7 a.m.'s for that reason. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
And Sammy just likes the mornings.
Yeah.
You do the same thing though?
So.
Call him at 7 a.m. tomorrow morning, Sootie, and see if he answers the phone.
10 a.m. Sydney.
My time.
10 a.m.
No.
Yeah. What are you doing, mate? I'm interested.
Did you say 10 a.m., did you?
We're 10 a.m. Sydney time. 7 a.m. here. And the way we justify that too, look, we're hiring salespeople at the moment. I literally had an interview with a girl an hour ago. So we're testing out people to do this role, and they'll be in parts of Australia too, with the advantage of starting early. But actually it'd be good to get your opinion on this too. Like, my logic is you guys wake up early, you're getting the boys ready, you're getting started. You don't want to get on a call with one of us at 7 a.m. It's more like, all right, you get to 9, 10, 11, 12, the day's sort of clearing up a little bit or not. But they're normally the times that I'm getting on, actually even more in the afternoon, I'm getting on calls with people.
Right. For me,
Yeah.
I if I look at my calendar, I have like morning tasks and like I guess events, events early in the morning or events in the afternoon. And I try to actually leave the whole rest of it for like actual tasks. So I actually don't like meetings and stuff booked in the middle of the day.
Okay.
I'll just say, yeah, no, I'm not available, because it ruins my flow. It's like you got to mentally prepare for a meeting. You got to like prepare, whatever that might take 15, 20 minutes. And then after you got to like absorb it, take notes, all that kind of stuff. So I'm like, when you're estimating, for me particularly, you're trying to estimate a $2 million job, and then you get a call in the middle of that, or doing that, and you like come back to the estimate. You're like, oh shit, where am I? Like, where do I restart? Oh fuck, I missed out on 100 grams worth of cladding. Well, whoops. Like it's
Yeah.
it's hard for me to just do that.
Deep work, it's a real thing, eh? Getting in that flow, whatever they want to explain it by, when you're getting those interruptions, and there's everyone in their business or life has stuff they need to get done like that. That's why I reckon phones are insane as well. Yeah, we all know how I can get distracted by that. What's your day look like, Liam? When are you booking in different things like that, or you just got your list?
You come in with a plan. I find like you come in with a plan every day, and then no matter sort of what you plan for, it seems to just be solving problems all day, every day. And interesting you say that. I sort of just book meetings ad hoc, but yeah, they're always in the half hour leading up to it. You're like, I've got 100 other things I'd rather be doing than this meeting, depending on what it's about. But for me, it's normally, I don't know. It's not always an important one. It's just something you agree to and you don't want to bail out on. But, yeah. And then the only thing, and it's hard with the routine, genuinely, and it's a bad way to look at it, but I find after 5 p.m, that's when I get the most done because everyone's finished. No one's ringing me anymore. Nothing else is going wrong or right or whatever, and then you can really get into that deep work of finishing a big quote but I guess that's where you've got to build a team. Do you have much of a team around you, Sootie, to helping out with the estimates and management, or?
I have the Nika in the office, and she does a lot of the admin stuff, HR, some marketing. She does so much work. But then I have 2 junior project managers, who I'm actually just training up. Our main project manager, he left about 4 or 5 months ago. So I'm training the foremans up to do. So there's a bit of a gap. So I'd imagine that was a 12-month working timeline of getting them up to scratch. So they're sort of on track. They're getting better and better. One of them's in the office 4 days a week now, so that's been helpful. But yeah, we're hiring a VA just to help Inika do some stuff. I haven't quite been able to let go of the reins when it comes to quoting. It's just the stuff that we do is just so custom. Every job is different, and it's like all you need to do is miss one little detail of like an intersecting E detail with some special copper wrapped around it or something, and all of a sudden you've lost 20 grand on just one specific detail, just because no one has the experience to understand how that's meant to be built or how to actually factor in the materials and like even like the delivery of the materials, like all those little bits and pieces add up. So it's hard for me to let go of the reins on that just yet. I'd hope maybe one day. But, that's sort of, I do most of that. And I agree with you. I actually do a lot of my estimating on a Sunday. I can knock out pretty much a whole job within 6 hours on a Sunday. But if I did that throughout the week, it would take me all week. It's crazy.
Yeah.
You know what? Fuck it. I'm running my Sunday off. That's it. And I just get it done.
How funny is a business owner? I love the days on the weekend, no one bothering you. It's just the best time of the week. And it's funny because you get into this to run your own hours, and then you talked about the discipline before. You got discipline during the week, and then you're working extra days. And of course, we all have our reasons why it's worthwhile. But yeah, it's interesting. When I got sold on the journey, it definitely was. It was more the 4-hour work week, not the fucking 80-hour work week. That's for sure. But anyway, it's the journey we're all on. You got a Red Bull there, Liam?
Yeah, mate. To get into a couple.
just getting ready for bed.
6:30 p.m.
Just locking in, mate. Locking in. He's going to get the work done.
I did a DNA, something test, and I have a massive tolerance. I have a massive tolerance for caffeine, not alcohol.
Wow. I thought you were going to say Kirk's not your brother.
Got a massive tolerance.
Look at these two.
That explains why I smash the stuff all day, and it doesn't. Only lasts for 30 minutes or so.
I'm with you. I can drink them. The old man drinks like 5 coffees a day, so it all makes sense.
What else did you get out of that DNA test?
It gave me like good foods that I'm good with. To be honest, it was a while ago. I remember that one. It gives you your type, how we're like farmers or I can't remember, to be honest. But
you're an Irish farmer. I remember it because you sent it to
I was a hybrid. There's your 3 types. I can't remember what they were. There's like the warrior genome in the middle. Kirk's the bottom one.
He's a slave.
It said like the foods that are good with you, things you're allergic to, things you're sensitive to. Yeah, don't know. I might have to get it up for the next podcast.
Yeah, I'd love to see that.
Yeah.
yours specifically. What do you give him, like a hair or like piss in a cup or
I think
something?
it was
Or-
just a mouth swab. Sent out a package, mouth swab, sent it back. Wasn't cheap. It was a lot of it you need to be run through by the doctor who's that sort of biologist. It's that sort of like Gary Brecker type
Oh,
thing, because you reading it to our eyes, like you have no idea what you're looking at really. So for most of it until the summary, but yeah, I've got it banked in there somewhere.
You just
but
send that
whatever.
one to ChatGPT. I've given up
That would
hiding
be a
stuff.
good idea, actually.
Well, I did it. We have our gym does blood tests and bunch of other stuff. It's pretty new, but yeah, I just send it into there and it tells you, you know, what you should be doing. They do have official meetings with a guy over here. I've got it on Monday, but yeah, they test all your hormones, they test all your general blood work, but they're a bit more stringent on the actual ranges as well. Because you go to the doctor in Australia, you know, and they'll be like, "Yeah, you're in the good range for anyone that's between 18 and 70," and it's like, "Well, I'm 30 fucking 6, you know. What's a good range for 36?" So they're a bit more progressive with that stuff. Let's just say that, you know.
That's what
Can't
I sort of want to ask you, Sootie, is you talked about obviously giving up the reins for not being able to give up the reins for the quoting and stuff. Have you thought about the potentials of like AI because of like the memory side of it, where you can like input like all your costs of goods, design work, everything like that into certain like LLMs that they're out there, and it can remember everything, and so like obviously doesn't have the limitations of the human mind with forgetting and, you know, missing certain aspects and stuff, as long as you input everything that it needs, and it can obviously run those estimations and stuff like that over and over again, depending on the designs. Is that something you have the potential of looking into or looked into to like
yeah,
aid in these sorts of processes? Or
for sure. I mean, if you see my checklist, it's like 45 pages, and it's just like it's broken down into like wall framing, roof framing, every aspect of the build, and I guess consecutive order, like in the way that should be built. So in sequence. So I actually have to work through that checklist. But I've definitely like I'm constantly thinking about how can AI do this job, and I've tested it out on a few things. To be fair, like I also use at GPT to like, I'll give it a set of plans and I'll just say, can you extract all, like on a set of plans, it might be, let's just say a small set might be 10 pages, and it'll have all these like notes pointing to all the different aspects of the build. And I'll just say, can you extract all the notes? And I'll use that as a checklist. So it'll be like, you know, relocate gate, move window, you know, so all of that will be put in a checklist. That's been really helpful. But yeah, I'd love to be able to like put all my IP that I have in my head and in my checklist, and then just put that into a system to just go do my fucking job, please. That would be awesome. But
it is going there.
yeah, it definitely is. But that's why I'm like, part of the reason why we're putting on this VA is just to see the level of competency, and possibly like they can do like at least the hard yard works, you know, like all the little bits and pieces. And I'll just do a massive review of the whole lot. And yeah, and hopefully that saves me a bit of time.
It's going to be a great test between, like, Liam's talking about a VA last week. You're talking about it this week. We literally bought a Mac Mini for this Clawbot AI, who's going to take over some of the work that we do as well. It's going to be interesting comparing the both, but it's also interesting to me that, you know, a lot of trades are obviously looking at international VAs to help out those things.
Yeah, I think at the moment, until AI gets gets a little bit better, the VA will just do so much. Like the work, we need it sorted out now. You know, like we don't need it. We don't want to be training this incompetent AI or agent or whatever for the next 6 months and possibly not even going anywhere. We're just like, we need help now. Like we just get into it.
And I think that's the biggest thing, man. I couldn't agree with you more. You need humans at the moment. There will be a stage too, and it's something I've thought about where, you know, there'll be a builder AI that comes in and it's ready to go and it's been trained and everything else. But Sam and I can talk. Like, we've been training this little Mac Mini from scratch, and we're there till 8 p.m. last night, high-fiving when it says hello back, because it didn't say hello for fucking 4 hours, you know? So it's just, it's not there yet. It's not where, it's not, especially like your average punter. Yeah, it's, or just anyone. It's just not there. It's not quite there.
Yeah, it's still quite technical.
I'll tell you
Like,
what,
there's
trades are going to be
definitely
around for a
technical
while though, and if we can get help in the back end, and just doing all the nitty gritty stuff like that and we can focus on building again. That would
Uh,
be nice. I think there's lots of things going on at the moment with like New South Wales and all the legislation that is constantly changing. It's basically over-regulating our whole industry and putting red tape and layers of bullshit that we have to go through. Liam, you'd be familiar with this with commercial projects. Like the amount of swims and crap that you have to put through is insane. Like it's counterproductive. And I sort of think of this analogy of like when you think of like driving a car and, you know, in Australia, you know, we implemented all these rules and laws to like, speed limits and all that to make people driving cars safer. But then it's like, well, 2,000 people still die from cars. And it's like, well, how do we limit that? Okay, well, let's just make everyone drive 10 Ks an hour. Okay, sweet. Well, that's super counterproductive. Like shit's not going to get done. It's going to take 8 hours to get a delivery of materials. And that's sort of like, obviously we're not quite there yet, but like it is getting to that point where it's like, it's over-regulated to the point we just have to spend so much time on the back end here just to try and navigate through all the regulations.
It's insane. And they do what they do on the roads, you know, rather than make it any safer, they just increase the fines and they increase the cost for the government, the building for you guys and the time. Absolutely insane.
You do commercial, Sootie, or residential mainly?
We don't do any like major commercial stuff. We just do like we've got a little fit out at the moment. It's about 800K. So it's just a little, well, I'll say little, it's like a really nice little art space, but I'd love to do more commercial. It is actually easier. When you're dealing with business owners, I feel like business owners get it. When you're dealing with houses, sometimes it's just like they just don't.
That's one positive about commercial is that's a good point. When you're working for a large builder, the finance is there for one. It might take a bit longer to get paid due to the terms, but
Yeah.
they're never holding money long term. And yeah, they get it, like you said.
We need houses. I was just going to say, we need houses in Australia too. So that's like, they're adding all this red tape, Sooty, and I'm guessing that's going to have the flow on we're building less houses if guys like you are struggling.
Yeah, well, it's not even like it's if you even just think of that, how cooked that is, like it makes our job really hard. Like the amount of builders are just going bankrupt because they're just like, well, this is just getting too hard. I don't even know how to deal with this. Like I'm lucky that I'm pretty good with that kind of stuff, but there's so many builders out there just really struggling. But the layers that you add in order to protect every single person in our industry and the way the legislation is set up is like everyone's just protecting each other. That they put shields up because like, oh, if I'm liable for this, I'm liable for that, I'm liable for this. So then all of that translates into more admin, which means that I've got to hire someone else to manage that. I've got to hire someone else to manage all the swims. I've got to hire someone else to make sure all the tools are tagged. I've got to, like even if that's one role, let's say it's 25%, 25%, 10%, it all adds up. So that's if I'm paying any kid, whatever, which is the most highest paid admin, if I'm paying a 90 grand, most of the time is being spent on that shit. So it's like, well, that translates into the business, which translates into the job, the clients pay for. So if, people wonder why our preliminary costs are 10% of the entire build. Well, it's like, well, it's because of this shit. Like if we didn't have to do any of this, I wouldn't have to have someone managing this. Like it seems like from like someone sitting in their office in governments, this is how we're going to protect everyone. It's like, that seems like a great idea, but that translates to the cost of building being so expensive. And that's why the numbers don't stack up for developers when they go, why would I renovate a house, or why would I do a duplex, or why would I do any of that? Because the numbers don't stack up to the resale.
This sort of ties in a little bit. I was going to ask you, like, what is the difference between like a small builder and at your stage where you're getting to be a bigger builder right now, So there's obviously...
I'm still really small, just to be clear.
I know you're not big, but you're on your journey at the moment, and it's good to hear at the start. Hey, you're doing decks and then small renos, and we work with a lot of guys who are in that space, and then some of them that are builders as well. Yeah, like I guess you're good at handling this office stuff. Is that one of the big differentiators of like getting from that stage to that stage, or is there other things? Is it money management, people management? Like what's the difference between a guy who never breaks out of that level into the next level or the level above where you're at?
I think when you look at business, a lot of people go into business just to get a wage. Like I don't look at business like that. I look at business going, all right, well, if I have to pay someone else to do my job, then I'm I have to get my wage from somewhere else. And obviously that's incorporated into the managing this business, and that's incorporated in the cost of overheads and everything. But to say if I was a one man builder and I just had an apprentice, like I, and I wanted to get off the tools. Okay, well, what's it going to cost me to replace myself? And then materials, plant, everything else, and then a markup on that. Like the way I see business is like, well, I'm only going to be doing this for another 10 years, let's say. And if I'm turning over 5 mil, 10 mil at a 10% profit margin, let's say, let's work off the 5 mil, that's 500 grand a year. And in 10 years, I want to be putting aside 500 grand into a profit account every year, which is not, it's not actually the reality of what actually happens, but like on paper, that's what it's meant to be.
Yeah.
So I want to be walking away from this with $10 million, $5 million in my bank account that I can draw on and pay myself out eventually, because there's no way I'll be able to sell this business. But it's like, if I'm getting out of this business because I'm buggered and tired and exhausted from all this, then I want to get a decent payout, you know? And I don't think enough guys are looking at it like that. They're looking at it, well, I'm charging myself out. I'm charging myself out $150 an hour. Well, that's sweet, but that's not really a whole lot of money. You know what I mean? Like for the level of stress that you get, like for most people, that's a great amount of money. But I'm saying for the level of stress and the liability, because I'm still having to fix, if there's a fuck up 6 years time, I still have to fix that shit. You know what I mean? For the level of liability and the sheer amount of stress, like I want to be getting a decent payout in 10 years. You know what I mean? And I don't even think 5 mil is enough. Because what I'm going to do when I finish and I sell this, or I get out of this business, 5 mil is not going to see me out for the rest of my life. Maybe, I'll buy. For most people probably will, but I'm a big spender. I want to buy a boat.
You had a little boat, mate, but we're talking about a bigger boat.
Yeah, no, I sold that boat. I was like, I actually didn't have the time for it. So
Yeah.
I am going to eventually get a bigger boat, but I need to.
Mate, what you said though, couldn't agree more with the mindset of it. And a few things there, like business is about looking at the numbers after a certain level, and most people don't look at it in the right way, where it's just like, I'm paying myself a wage. And especially for all that added stress, like you say, I think the numbers in any business is probably the most important part, and then how you're outlaying capital. And the more senior you get in business, that's the decisions you're making. And then, yeah, mate, you got to have those big goals as well. Yeah, I'm with you. And like, hey, money's only going one way, mate. $1 million used to be a lot of money. Remember that?
Yeah, $1 million used to buy a lot. It buys you fuck all now. You can't even get a house for $1 million. I mean, you can, but like, not a house that you want to buy. Retiring.
Not one you can live in.
The house you want to.
Maybe in Alice Springs, mate.
And that's why people start moving to Bali, right?
The house you'd want to retire in now is like $3 or $4 million, I think, compared to what used to be $1 million.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, I might be able to, but I guess the brand is attached to me, and I guess like how do you assess what the value is of the business? Say if it is turning over 5 mil or 10 mil, I know there's calculations and how they work out. I haven't looked into the numbers of that. But say if I like sell it, even if it's turning over 10 mil, it doesn't mean that I'm going to sell it for 10 mil. It might be 3 mil, but it's like, who would actually want to spend that kind of money on a building company unless you just got 3 mil in your back pocket? Like it would have to be something that's pretty special for someone to take on a business like mine. You know what I mean? It's not a simple business. It's not like just a bricklaying business where you just, you got a few trays and you're smacking out bricks. It's custom home building. So it's like the only way I can think of getting out of this and selling it is something that's actually scalable and repetitious. Like and I've already started that process of like designing a bunch of homes and just going, this is how we're sort of like, this is what we're building. These are the homes. This is the profit margin. It's really simple, But when you're dealing with custom homes, It's fucking hard to sell. I don't know many builders that are selling their business. They just close them down.
Would it be though, like, obviously you could have a succession plan of someone taking over that, but then to your point, the only reason someone might actually buy a business like that is if it was already being operated and the owner wasn't the operator. Like if you're too attached to it at the end of the day and someone goes, yeah, I'm paying for this and then I'm stepping in and doing that, rather than it's a revenue vehicle that someone's buying that's already operating.
Yeah, I think it'll just be pretty difficult to sell on business. I mean, for you, like, I reckon that your business is probably a lot more scalable and easier to sell. What do you reckon?
Probably is because it's repetition as well, like, and it's volume. I think I used to have that a few years ago, and yeah, your numbers could, they'd be potentially be a lot higher or different, but because like it's like being a bricklayer or a concreter, we're given sort of repetition, the same product. But I used to think that everyone wanted Liam Skinner to do the fence, and I was like, how do I sort of separate myself from this? And I don't actually know completely the steps I took to do it, but yeah, now it's more of a brand. We have a management team and subcontractors, and but I definitely think about that sometimes with all the stress and everything. If you can make it self-driven, that's what I want to do for quality of life, and then you have the opportunity there of possibly selling the business too. But
Yeah, for sure. I think you just sort of like really need to look at your business and be like, can I walk away from this for 4 weeks? And like if I was on an island, no one can contact me. Is that possible? Maybe at the moment. I think it'd be tough. It's tough because both Inika and I run this business. So it's like who's going to take over like when we're actually away, So these are questions that we're sort of like, right, well, this is why we need to get a VA. This is why I'm getting Luke in the office. So I'm trying to set it up in a way that maybe eventually it'll run its own course, but we'll see how we go.
For anyone listening who doesn't know, Inika is partner and soon to be wife one day. Yeah. But also obviously works in the business. I went to school with her, and it's sort of how I know you, Sootie, too, actually. For
Yeah,
full picture there.
She's very good.
Mm.
I don't actually tell her enough. I only tell her when I'm on podcasts. So I'll just say, listen to the podcast. I spoke about you. Get some branding points.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll make sure the editor chops that one up for you. You can send it to her. No, I think following on from what you guys were talking about selling the business, I think there's one way to look at it. Obviously, I think a lot of, especially those sorts of businesses, people come in and they're buying obviously the systems you've built, the team you've built, and their like trust and brand you've built. Not necessarily. Obviously, they ideally want to have some. Either if it's a handover where they're learning what you do as well, if they want to work in the business. But there's a lot of value in, obviously the trust and respect and the systems and the teams that you've built over years. They know your name, and that's what they're buying. Because obviously they can start from scratch, but that's why they're putting up the money, because it's a lot of work to start from scratch, to figure it all out, to build that trust, to build that team, to build out those systems and make those mistakes. It also costs a lot of money. So they're happy to, if they've got a bit of money, pay up front to, to skip those mistakes and to already like buy into that sort of brand, I guess. But yeah, like you said, especially with custom stuff, you're always chasing, customers. Obviously looking for customers. I don't know how it works for you now at this point where you're at, or how you get your customers. Are people, mostly word of mouth? Are people coming to you? Or that would be the interesting where you get to the level. If you've got an influx of people, that you've got like a wait list of custom builds, then that's very something sellable, obviously at the end of the day, because you've got people that are waiting to get your work because it's such high value. So I think that's where you tip over that like little tipping point into, we've got, 50 people on our list that are waiting for custom builds over the next 3 years with this much work, potentially. And that's, I think, where building your brand and your awareness is. That's where it's like ideally could get to, and that's where you like have that value in the company. So I'm interested, like, where are you at right now, and that's how's like the flow of work kind of thing with the company right now. Quite interested in it.
Yeah, we got heaps of work. I mean, I think it's interesting because I think we get a lot of our work, a lot of it's word of mouth, but it's word of mouth via Instagram or YouTube. And it's funny because like people say to me when they they actually meet me, they're like, oh, not that we've got a big YouTube channel, but they sort of like, they go into it and they go down this rabbit hole of all the videos that we've done, and they feel like they've gotten to know me. And then they meet me and they're like, oh, it's really nice to meet you. And like, thanks for taking the time and all this stuff. And I just, I'm selling myself in a way. So when you were just talking about like the idea of like being able to like hand this over to someone else, and I honestly, I'd fucking love to. Not yet, but I'd love that. It's almost problematic in the sense that like if I was a person trying to buy my company, I'd be like, yeah, but you're the brand. You're on YouTube. You're on Instagram. You're not going to be there anymore. So how's that work? And what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, that is interesting. Yeah, I think that is like what Liam said, when you are the face of the entire thing, it does become a little bit tricky, and you kind of have to go the route of training someone up to your position where you still own a percentage of the business, or it's like a payout sort of system where, slowly over when you're training that person, they become the face, all of a sudden they incorporate into those videos, you're just talking them together. This is where kind of like a semi-partnership forms, and then you end up being like maybe even just a percentage owner where you're getting paid out over a certain amount of time. And that's where I could see how you could shift that. Obviously you have to, that's the thing about finding someone that's motivated and wants to take over that type of thing. Or you shift it into like obviously more of a business sense, like Liam said, where more like a business brand rather than like a Liam Skinner brand. But it would be a process over time, I would think, to either introduce a person that's looking to purchase it, or shift it into like a business brand. But that is a tricky one when I think it's like anything with like people that their own brand, separating the person and the business, or how they come together and that sort of thing. So no, for sure that can be.
I think it's interesting to think about like how important that is. There's big examples in the world, and it'd be interesting to find building examples here too, where that Headspace meditation app, and that was Andy who was always on it. Well, he was the voice of it, and then basically they ended up getting like 6, 7, 8, 9 voices because Andy got cancer. And he almost died, and they were like, fuck, we got to protect this brand. And then they got more people on there. There were investors, of course, and all this other stuff, but they pivoted away. Whereas if you're joining Headspace now, you don't know that Andy started it. And I guess to your point, it's like, well, do you get, as the business grows, do you get more people behind the content rather than just you? And then it also has to be self-reflective in a sense of like, how much does the business rely on one person, and is that a good thing? Is it true it relies on you? And I'm pushing back a bit here, but like it relies on you as much as it does. It obviously relies on you a lot. But on a branding perspective, or are people going to go, holy shit, look at these 50 homes that they built, and there's actually 10 other people involved, and then it becomes a more sellable asset in the future? I think you're on an asset. I think it's definitely like a pain point, obviously, of selling the business is if you're on everything. But is it surmountable? I would and I think businesses have done it without me diving too deep into saying I've seen it in the building game, but I'm sure there might be examples there too.
Yeah, no, Sam actually made a good point about like, it got me thinking just then of like, I'm happy to make content. I'd rather just be doing that, just having fun and building sites, interviewing the boys. And to be fair, like I get a lot of the boys on there. So like people are very familiar. One of them's a pretty good look. Well, there's a few good looking blokes, and some of the girls are like, oh, who's that good looking dude? So people are sort of getting them to know everyone else. But the idea of like, all right, well, the thing with being a builder is that you're the supervisor of the building company, and you're actually attached to the building company. So I don't actually know how that would technically work if I was to exit fully, because I'd be taking my license with me. So I haven't really looked at it. It's not something, it hasn't been on the horizon to sell, so I haven't thought about it.
Yeah.
But if there was like Sam suggested, the idea that, maybe I'm part owner and I just come in and have a bit of fun, I'll keep doing that till I'm 60, and then whatever, see what happens. Maybe Enzo might take over. Who knows?
Well, that's it.
Yeah. Take the
True.
reins.
True, mate. Train him up. He's already 12 months in, mate. A few more years.
It's always on a job site with me. He's probably not safe, but he's just hanging around. He's on my arms, and he's just like,
little hard hat.
It's getting exposed. That's where it all starts. These little things that you think doesn't make a difference, but I reckon it does.
Yeah, mate, for sure. Think about you, mate. Is
Yeah,
what you said
well,
at the start about
exactly.
your dad. There you
That's
go,
a very
straight
good point.
away.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think the custom aspect of your business, like you said, is probably the hardest part about it. I was trying to think like why mine was scalable, and then it's that yours is like a lot more niche, you know. And I was trying to think how I got guys in the management team and how I trained people up, you know. And it was a lot of just. I'm very lucky. I always had a sort of a 2IC as well from the start, so he's been very good, but. Yeah, I would sort of just throw, like in a way, just throw guys in the deep end, you know, and I still use this line to this day, but I was like, it's just defense guys. Like, you know, if there's guys out there, I was like, if there's guys out there quoting civil sites and you know, they're compacting benches and having to get the geotechnical report right. And we do, you know, I am downgrading what we do a little bit because we do all that stuff and design and engineering, but obviously being fencing trade, it's on the easier end of that spectrum, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? So for me to throw someone in the deep end and find out if they perform under pressure, it's probably a lot easier than your brain that's connected to you designing these custom sort of products for your customers. But if you had that, like you said, and I think you said you were starting to look into it, just building what are they called? Like the house and land packages where they're sort of all the same, or there's 3 or 4 options. That something like that probably is something that could be a lot more scalable.
How is that project, mate? You had something on the go. I'm not updated with it. How is it going?
Oh, mate, I've just been trying to chip away at that for the last 2 years, but I just haven't had the time. Like it all sparked from like a few years ago. It wasn't, I don't know, 3 years ago. I was like, this is not a sustainable business in the sense that like I can't keep doing this. And so many variables when it comes to custom home building and renovations and extensions and stuff. It's pretty tough. So like I was like, you know what? Maybe I'll design a bunch of homes and then I'll just put that on the website and I'll just sell that and I'll promote it and all that. I haven't had a chance to. The amount of I didn't also expect the sheer volume of people that are interested in building with us. Like I'm probably knocking over a major quote every 3 weeks. You know, I'm banging them out. You know, so and I get paid for them too. You know, I charge a decent fee for them. So I'm not doing it entirely for free. I get paid for the most part of it. Because it's more like a consulting service to, you know, from start to finish. Like you want to design a house, look cool, we'll help you through that process, start construction, finish it, hand it over. So, you know, like there's a lot of there's a lot of work involved in that. And I've actually lost track of what was my actual original point. What was the question?
How's that project going? Is that the side project?
Yeah, sorry, yeah. So that's right. So I just haven't had a chance to like finish it. You know, like it's on the website. I get a lot of I get a lot of inquiries, but it's got nothing to do with those pre-designed homes. Like it's all custom stuff, and I just have not had the chance to sink my teeth in it and just keep working on it because I have to reprice it because obviously times have changed. And I have to promote it. It's on the website, but it's not there to sell just yet.
Well, no, that's interesting, mate. Well, maybe one day with the time. I think it's always been smart too, you charging for the quotes like that. How many go through, you reckon? And I guess the other part of the question is how many people go somewhere else when you've started that journey with them and then they can like take what you've given them and go somewhere else?
I'd say 90% of them I follow through. The only
Wicked.
time they sort of don't, we don't follow through is actually because I pull out of the job. Because it's such a long journey, you know, like from start, like even in the pre-construction stage, it might take 6, even 12 months before you even start construction. So there's like original designs, concept, you know, your pricing, you're doing a preliminary price, then it goes to DA and then it goes to like engineering consultants and all that. Everyone has their input and then you're repricing it. And then you sort of like everyone's concerned about the budget still. So like you're sort of like dealing with this process and working through these clients and architects and you just get a few red flags and you just think these people are actually not worth my time. I think they're going to cause me a lot of problems. And you sort of pick up on that throughout that process. And while if I take myself out of it, I say, look, I've done 2 quotes for you. I'll give you a refund of $1,000. Here it is. We're out. Good luck to you. But I think, yeah, I think for the most part, they're pretty well converting to an actual job. Just from like me just being communicating so well, I think that's
Yep.
the biggest thing. I think that's builders struggle with that the most. It's like you want to quote, okay, yeah, no worries, and we might hand it over to you in 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 10 weeks, drags on. But I'm like, this is where I'm going to start. This is where I'm going to finish. This is what you'll get out of this. They sign a preliminary agreement, like contract, and it actually states what they get out of us and what that timeline actually looks like. So, you know, I follow through, and then that's why the job sort of translate into an actual job that we actually build.
Good on you, mate. And you're building that relationship with them. How was it like? Because you've been doing this a few years now. You know, was it harder when you were a young fella, especially because you look about 16? Nah, not anymore.
Yeah,
Back in
well,
the
I mean,
day, brother. Back in the
I got a
day.
beard now.
Yeah, yeah.
It was pretty hard, like even just in like moving into sort of like leadership roles. Hey, like because I was probably the youngest site manager or like going around most sites. Like I'm sort of telling 40-year-olds what to do. And the funny thing was, like, I learned so much from that because when you get given the title, 25-year-old, just, yeah, mate, you're running this job, you call the shots, blah, blah, blah. That just goes bang straight into the head and you start carrying on like a fucking moron. And then, yeah, so like, it's always funny in hindsight to look back and go, geez, you did not handle that well. Geez, you just made that situation a lot worse. And that's my, I guess, why we have such a good team now is because of how well we all communicate. And I think that actually starts from me down because I've never blown up at any of my employees. I've never, I don't put my stress and anger onto any of them. And I make it, I have high expectations of communication and standards. So I think like everyone's sort of like on this, like, like the standard that the boys that we have for this team is exponential, I reckon.
Wicked, mate. And it's good you're reflective like that and learn from the past as well, too, where you can say, hey, I wasn't the best there. I had similar experiences. I had a team, I was 25 and, 55-year-old guys at the steelworks. It's challenging. It's really challenging. You get put in that position. But, yeah, you definitely learn some things for it. And normally through the mess ups or where you've done something wrong. But I think it's interesting you talking about the building side of things too, mate, with the quoting, building the relationship. Like we've worked with a lot of chippies now and, they're doing decks and pergolas, very different to building a home. So I'm not surprised, like, when you're speaking to someone, they've watched all your YouTube content. They've seen every video you got on Instagram. It's a little bit different when you're paying 10 to 15 grand for a deck and, you're finding someone on Google or Facebook or wherever, it's still 10, 15 grand, don't get me wrong, but you're not going through as thorough a process as you are for $1 million home that people are obviously going through. There's got to be that trust built both through the process that you have, but also the social media and the YouTube channel. And it's not something a lot of builders do either. Would you agree?
Oh yeah, definitely. I think like, that was the point I was sort of trying to make just before. Like it's about building trust. And if people are constantly undermining you or like sort of like don't trust what, the fact that I've got their best interests at heart, like they think I'm like, oh, your quote's too high. Like I've had feedback from that. Oh, why's your quote so high? I was like, go to another builder then, like see if that builder's captured all the information that was presented. Because like unless you've got hundreds of pages of documents to specify every single detail of that architectural build, then my quote's going to be miles different to another builder.
Yeah. No, good on you. One thing I was thinking before, and it wouldn't be right if I didn't bring it up. We got a group of friends, we always chatting in that group, Sootie and I, about 6 other blokes. And I was just thinking before when you were talking about the government, like, if I think about all the blokes who work for hospitals and government and everything else, in that group, they're all like very leftist and they give some of us with more normal views problems, mate. Do you think it's the government that's changing the people or the people that make the government and our mates are the problem?
Funny because I know the boys will listen to this podcast.
Yeah, hopefully.
I'll let you
take
go.
on it, and I'm going to be, I would say, reasonably PC about this. But
Don't do
My
that.
take on it is that way too many people rely on the government. The governments should stay the fuck out of your life, first of all. The government is not there to rescue you when shit hits the fan. Don't rely on the government. And that also applies to information. Don't
Yep.
rely on the government for information. This is,
Way to put it.
and the thing with like hospitals and shit, and they're all exactly the same. They're all, I'm not going to say the word, but they're all like, they all think the same. And it's just like every single person I know, and there's the odd one that really is like, can actually think on his or her own. But like they all think the same. But it's because the messaging has been the same since they started in uni, and then it's reiterated again in the actual workplace. So it's like you're having these arguments or discussions with people. They're just like you're in a little echo chamber. You know, you can't actually think for your own because you've been told this is how you should think and this is what you should be doing. And I think that's like the biggest problem is that people rely on the government to save them. And they also rely on the government to give them information. I just don't trust the government. Fuck you, government.
Yeah, mate, I feel the same. And you're right. It's good. Most business owners, because they don't rely on the government to make their own crust and the government actually gets in the way, they seem to think in a different way or a more similar way to each other. And I guess maybe the same way that those that do rely more so on those sorts of systems. And I've been lucky to be on both sides. You know, I went to uni, I went through that path, and then you break out, start your own business, and you've used change over time. So it's interesting to see the both. And I know the other side would argue there's an echo chamber that we have, but
Sure.
yeah, I've seen both echo chambers. I choose this one.
Yeah. You just gotta be able to have like, you know, conversations that are somewhat difficult with people that you respect and respect each other's conversation, you know, like it's or point of view. So I've got another group chat going on. Some old mates I haven't spoken in a while, and they sent this message in the group chat, and I was like, "Oh, hey boys, why don't we just catch up? Like it's been like 5 years. Let's have a good let's go down to the brewery or whatever and catch up." And then one of the responses was, "It's so funny to listen to this," but one of the responses was like, "As long as we're not talking about anything political." I'm like, "Why? Is it because you none of the things that you can say would stick?" It's like, can you not argue your point in a fair way that would actually make sense? You know, like why are you so like concerned about someone disagreeing with your point of view? So you shouldn't be worried about that. If you understand your belief, then that's all that really matters. You know, it just means that people just don't actually understand their belief. It's because they've been told to believe what they believe.
Exactly, mate. You've always done that well too. Broached the topic well throughout the years, and taken feedback too. I think that's the main way we've all got to be. So, but each to their own.
Each to their own. Yeah.
There's no far right. There's just the normal people and the far left.
And everyone
just the
else.
people with common sense and then the far left.
Yeah.
I'm glad you said it.
Bro. It gets a bit ridiculous out there, you know. It's like, and these people are talking about topics and they don't even have half of their own shit together. You know, it's like really, you got to look inwards as well, you know, like, and, you know, just like work on yourself. And I guess as part of it as well, it becomes their whole personality, the side of things. And so they feel like they're part of something and really all that they're not really part of anything because they're such a surface level of just like acceptance of what, you know, because there's nothing else. Yeah. It's a bit crazy as well. You know, you see it everywhere when I go back and forth, because obviously I lived overseas for a long time and for a real long time now. And so you come back and forth and you see the different groups that you talk about and, you know, the different, all that sorts of stuff. And like you do hear the same things over and over again. And yeah, it's very interesting, especially even overseas as well. It's very similar in certain aspects and very different, you know, but yeah, it's
just so funny seeing like the lefties that are just like, you know, they're just so unhealthy. It's like,
it's true.
Far right.
Up here,
you know,
mate, that's what I mean. That's what I was going in like a bit of a roundabout way, but like, you know, so if your shit out, like really,
It's the
man.
aggression. It's the aggression they have generally with the passion, though. And like the only way I can relate that is think of yourself when you were 16 or 17. You had nothing sorted. You hated your life, and like you were angry at everything and angry at the world. And that explains, in my opinion, why they're so angry. They're just covering up for something else. Most
Just
people.
need to go for a run, mate, or something.
Yeah.
Something like that, eh? Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask that to our group, Sootie. What are they covering up for, mate? And send this clip through.
Also,
must have-
our boys are just, they're actually normal dudes and they're good dudes. But like, there's just so many guys out there just like,
Yeah, they're
even in my
probably.
industry, people are like, we build like healthy homes. Like that's technically what we sort of do is we specialize in that kind of stuff. But there's guys out there like consultants and builders promoting themselves as like, yeah, it's like we're building healthy homes. Like this is what you got to do. This is what you got to be spending money here. Spend $2 million here on a healthy home. It's like, man, you're overweight. You know what I mean? Like you don't try and encourage people to build like and be healthy when like all you really need to do is train, like exercise, eat well, get some sunlight, go outside, like keep it simple. You don't need to spend $2 million to upgrade your house. You know what I mean? Like what's going on here, guys? Like sort those basics out before you start talking about spending $2 million on a house to like make it healthy. You know what I mean? I'm going to do myself out of business here when people see this.
Mate, we can. It'll be good, mate. They'll love it.
It actually, we haven't talked about the healthy home thing with your journey, Sooty. I wouldn't mind you touching on that, mate, because, I remember the first 2 homes you built, and you were quite a bit of an eco warrior then, and I know things have changed over time where there's other reasons that you do it. But tell us about Lou Project Specialties for people listening, but also tell us a little bit about the journey.
That's actually a fair point, fair question. I mean, if anyone's gotten to the end of this podcast, good on them. Like you said, I've always been passionate about the environment. I always wanted to because, I grew up on a farm basically. And I was like, my dad was a farmer and I watched him farm and he treated like veggies and it was like the food that we had in our fridge or in our pantry. It was just insane. So I've just always been really conscious of like environment, health, all that kind of stuff. So, you're basically born quite progressive. You're you're born sort of left. And then you sort of you're like, all right, cool. Well, that's the path that I want to head down. I'm passionate about that. This is what we're going to do. And I still practice a lot of that, but I don't promote it in the sense that we're eco warriors. We're we're building sustainable homes. Like the word sustainable is like such a buzzword now. It's just embarrassing. But I sort of I just have a sensible approach. And it's like, if you're concerned about health, do the healthy things. But if you've got money to renovate and upgrade your house, then also do that. But prioritize that other stuff first. And then the other thing is that's health. And then there's energy, right? So energy, I always thought we've got to stop coal mines. This is really bad for the environment. And solar panels the way of the future. When you start looking into it, solar panels are made in China in hectic conditions with all the crazy materials. And then the batteries, most of them are made out you obviously lithium. So lithium is the extraction process for that is hectic. The amount of chemicals that they actually put out there and to extract the lithium out and so it can be used. And then for to stabilize the batteries, you need cobalt. So cobalt's extracted from mostly the Congo because that's where most of it is. And China owns basically runs the Congo. So you're well, you buy your little Tesla wall or whatever, you put it on your roof and you think hey, I'm sorting out the environment. It's yeah, but you got slaves digging out cobalt out of the ground. So you can charge a Tesla car. It just didn't start. It just didn't really make any sense to me. You can't say, oh yeah, this little thing that I'm doing over here equals great outcome for the environment because it's not. When you actually look into it, it's It's shocking for the environment. And the thing is, like, solar's got a 20-year lifespan, and then what? Just goes in the ground. It's like, how's that good for the environment? Like I just sort of have a sensible approach. I'm like, right, there's that has a part in this future, the panels and batteries, but it's not the be all end all. We need to figure out, how do we get an abundance of energy? And how do you do that? Well, we need to start innovating and start figuring out how we tap into fusion energy, or like get nuclear energy going, spend the money on innovation for that. How do we make it safer? How do we make it less waste? And that's what they're doing in France and doing in all sorts of other countries. But in Australia, it's like we're subsidizing like solar, and the taxpayer is paying for it, and that's why shit's so expensive. And then at the same time, we're closing down coal plants. So then energy's going through the roof. So that the argument is, well, energy's going through the roof, we should put solar panels on our roof. It's like, well, if you just didn't make energy so fucking expensive here, then we wouldn't have to put. Imagine if like energy was 1 cent a kilowatt. It's currently 60 or whatever. It's 60 times less. Imagine that. You'd almost be like, well, it's free energy, guys. Don't worry about it. Then no one would want to invest in solar or batteries.
Yeah.
I'm not saying let's go just keep ramping up coal, but I'm saying we've got to think of a better way that's actually more sustainable for energy source, because this whole world was built on cheap energy, and particularly in the Western world. But it's, if you make energy so expensive, we're going to be going downhill.
Yeah. You got to look at the whole narrative, don't you, mate? And I remember, because you changed your views over time with that as you got more educated with it and started looking at the whole narrative rather than just a singular focus, which, I think's the way we got to go, rather than, just this is bad, that's good. But yeah, you definitely taught me a bit about how all that was made as well, because obviously it's your field.
So you start looking into it. You're like, oh, this doesn't make sense. Sorry, guys. Don't get me wrong. I still put
Yeah,
solar
it is crazy.
in the house.
Yeah, it is crazy because you think, man, with the amount of money that's getting pumped into these industries, like you'd think they'd found like a better way to harness like the sun's energy, considering it's like the amount of energy it outputs, and and they still haven't come up with like something that's like half decent, that can actually like last the test of time. And then there's all the stuff about with Australia where the government's just sold off like so many of the resources to massive companies, and that's why the energy costs go through the roof and all that sort of stuff. And it's I don't know heaps about it, it's still like that, but like there's definitely, when they compare it to like certain other countries, you look at like UAE and certain places like Norway, especially with natural gas and the amount of like revenue those countries are making off these sorts of resources that are just being sold off for like cheap as chips to like other countries from Australia. It's just like you wonder where all the money's going and why we're paying all this money for energy, because it's just like we don't have that many people. We've got a massive amount of land. Maybe it's not usable for farmland, but it's usable for something, and huge amounts of resources and all that sort of stuff. So there's definitely, I don't know, maybe they're scared if they don't sell it for cheap, China's going to come knocking at the door. I don't know. Who knows, you never know what's going on behind it.
And then they sell it back for market value. So then it's like in the UAE, when the price goes up, the market value goes up, the population benefits from it. It's because the resources, the money that they make from it goes back into the people. In Australia, they tax you more.
Yeah, mate. We won't solve it on this podcast, but it's good to have a chat about it and see the point of view, especially people that you're building the future, really. Like you're building essentially where people, like, one of the requirements of life is like a roof over your head, food, water, and shelter. And then when you're having, like you said at the start, diving through all these red tape to provide shelter, that's what's insane. When like the government is, obviously there's certain points where they, like you said, they can step into certain areas like public housing, public health, public roads, that sort of stuff. But when they're stepping into like residential homes and, like one of like the main thing with food, water, and shelter, and starting to make it harder and harder. And then it's just obviously causing, prices to go up because demand's still there, and then the supply is being like, artificially, well, I'm guessing artificially withheld because of all the red tape and the builders going out. It's just like, it's like that's not why the government was formed. The government was formed to, worry about that other stuff, all the public services, and now they're like, oh, fuck, what's the word? Encroaching? What's that? I don't know. Anyway,
Encroaching.
is it encroaching? That doesn't sound right. But anyway,
That probably doesn't sound right either.
You just sound like a far right extremist.
huh?
You just sound like a far right
Me?
extremist.
Yeah,
Hey,
fuck.
This is a libertarian.
Yeah, I just want water,
That's
food, and
pretty
health for
serious,
everyone, mate. I'm fucking far right, brother. Crazy.
Well, yeah. Anyways, I'm sticking on, boys. I probably need to get some dinner and hang out with my son. But yeah, this is a fun chat. I love doing this. So yeah, if you want to get me back on, special guest
Yeah,
again,
mate.
I appreciate it. Yeah, I've had a lot of fun. I'll have a listen to it and see whether I post on the projects or not.
Yeah, no, I appreciate your time on there, Sootie. That was never what it was about, but it was good to have a chat, mate. Yeah, I was going to wrap this one up, but thanks for coming on. I'm sure we'll get you back on in the future.
No
Yeah,
worries.
mate. It was nice to meet you. Keep doing the
Yeah.
good work, and yeah, we'll have you on again for sure.
Stay in contact. All right. Thanks, boys. Appreciate it.